At NTV.
Now, as we head back to Kasangati with Chris Higenyi having conversations with Dr. Col Besigye, I do have questions, but I trust that you also do have questions that you want to air out, that you want views and opinions on from the doctor himself. Hashtag morning at NTV on our social media spaces. We'll be able to capture that and pass them on to Chris to read them. But I think for me in particular, I just want to find out from the doctor with his most recent experience in the judiciary, what does he say about the state of the judiciary? That's one. And then also we get to see him as a political activist. But the big question now looming all over is his time right now and what he's going through yet to join opposition once again as one front, or is it just politics, activism, and that's it? Two separate things. So for me, those are the things that I want to find out from the Kano himself. Chris Higenyi?
Hello, very good morning, Priscilla. Many thanks for bringing this particular segment of the interview live from Buyinja village in Kasangati, home of retired Colonel Dr. Col Besigye. Now, retired Colonel Dr. Col Besigye is a man of many hats. We know he has contested for president 4 times. He's a socio-political commentator, but of late turned into a political activist. Many say that perhaps he's underwhelming in terms of his actions and that he should be playing a bigger role, just like he did at the time of his prowess when he sought to become a president for 4 times. Now, retired Colonel Dr. Col Besigye has seen the worst and the near best of Uganda, and in the political trenches, he's a man who has stories to tell. Today, we are speaking to him on the backdrop of an economic crisis that continues to hamper development across the region. Many Ugandans are unable to afford the basic commodities of the day, including services, something that is rarely amplified. On Morning at NTV, we are going to be able to see how retired Colonel Dr. Besigye could have tackled the economic challenges of the time if he were president. I'm Chris Higenyi. A very warm welcome to Morning at NTV, Colonel Besigye.
Thank you very much. A very welcome to our village once again, and a very good morning to all the NTV viewers, wherever you are joining us from.
Well, there you have it. We come to Buyinja village on the backdrop of what has been a dramatic 2 months. We saw you being arrested twice for protesting what you say are the very high and skyrocketing prices of basic commodities, including foodstuffs that people use in the home, but most visibly the price of fuel right now. Could you tell us about the wake-up call that you have undertaken on as a follow-up of most of the campaigns that you have been undertaking?
Well, thank you. You see, wake-up call has really 2 main segments. One is a wake-up to deal with the immediate severe crisis that most Ugandans experience, a crisis of living. But it also seeks to address the underlying causes that created this crisis. And so, basically, it is to try and inform Ugandans what is causing this, how do we get out of this crisis. And we believe that we shall not get out of this crisis sustainably without the active participation of the greatest majority of Ugandans. It's not a crisis where there will be a savior who comes up and just lifts us from this crisis. It must be participatory. Every Ugandan must engage. And in order to engage, they must know what it is they are engaging with and where the end game is. How do we get out of this? So that is the main thrust of the wake-up call. And as I've said, the 2 segments of this is that the crisis has not been caused by what is being said now as the main causes, which is COVID-19 and the lockdowns that went with it, and the war of Russia-Ukraine. These are exacerbating factors. They are factors that simply worsen what was already a very bad situation. And so we must understand what caused the very bad situation that existed in Uganda before these intensifying factors.
That's
because even before COVID, before the war in Europe, Ugandans were living on the margins of existence. The slavery was already going on of Ugandans being taken to Arab countries because they cannot live here. We've seen people crying, women crying in the Arab homes, suffering as a result of having a country that cannot sustain them. The unemployment, which is explosive in this country, has been going on long before this. The crisis in healthcare, the crisis in education have been going on long before this. So what caused that crisis before COVID and the war in Ukraine? It is the extremely exploitative system of the Museveni junta. It starts with the capture of the state of Uganda by force and controlling resources of our country by a few people who continue extracting. In fact, it's like a slave-master relationship. Some of the people who have followed what I have been complaining about in the system of governance, right from 2001, I referred to what even happened in the bush. This ideology was an ideology that started right in the bush during the war, when there were those who ate chicken and those who didn't. Abalya nkoko n'abatalya nkoko. And they were exemplified by, we had two Magalas. One was Magala, a commander, and the other one was Magala, a soldier. The Magala, to separate the two, they called the Magala the soldier, Magala Atalya nkoko. That was his name, Magala Atalya nkoko. And then there was the Magala Alya nkoko, the commander. That is the ideology that creates the crisis. Before COVID, before, it is the balya nkoko n'abatalya nkoko. Abalya nkoko balya z'abatalya nkoko. Everybody starts with the chicken. Naye abalya nkoko, because they must keep on eating chicken every day, they take away the chickens of all the others and keep them in their own compound.
Yeah, that is a point that you have made on several occasions. The fact that the people at the grassroots who seem to be exploited don't seem to understand, perhaps, or even heed your call.
No, they understand. But yes. I told you that it starts with the capture by force.
Capture by force.
Slaves understood that they were slaves. Don't think that they went by willingly. They were captured by force with guns, tied on the chains, like you see when they arrest us. Have you seen them bringing me to court? Chained. So it's force. It's the use of force to chain citizens and take what is theirs. So it's not that people don't understand. They understand. The question is to understand how to defeat the force that holds them slaves into slavery.
And that's where my next question comes up. The fact that you want Ugandans to participate in what you call
breaking the chains on their hands,
their own liberation.
Yes.
However, can you define for us the kind of participation that you want? Because when you call upon people to rise up, it borders on a call to violence.
No. That's it again. This is the narrative of the slave master. This is the narrative of those who hold people in captivity. They say, if you want to gain your freedom, you are causing violence. We shall kill you. No. First of all, everybody must know that we are equal under the law. Even by our own constitution, we are equal. We have equal rights. Those rights include our rights to oppose what is going on, our rights to resist bad systems, our rights to protest. Those are fundamental rights that are not only Ugandan rights, they are human rights, universal rights. And that's why everybody on the globe has a duty to protect our own rights here. They are not just Ugandan rights, they are universal. So if we protest like the teachers were protesting, all the teachers were they violent?
No.
Absolutely not. They said, we shall withdraw our labor. But they were terrorized. We shall now sack you. We shall do this. We shall, you know, if people followed what happened when the UNATU eventually caved in, which was most unfortunate. When UNATU caved in, they caved in under a barrage of intimidation, you know. Chairman Filbert Baguma was even told not to talk before Museveni. He said, you are an enemy, you know. Somebody just saying, I have a right to live. I am entitled to equal pay for equal work under the Constitution. So, protest does not equal violence. The people who hold us captive are the users of violence. First of all, they use violence to get power over us.
That's right.
Which is what Museveni used. 500,000 people dead before he arrived in State House. He's the one who acquired power by violence. He holds it by violence.
All right.
The deployment of guns, you saw people stopping me from leaving my home. What were they using? They are violent. They are violent. They are aggressors. They are criminals. As a matter of fact, they are criminals. Just like the slave masters were criminals, these ones are criminals.
Okay. That's a story that has played out very severally within Uganda's political space. Are you personally undertaking sort of a petition in any form against these acts of violence against you, your peers in the struggle to, for example, assert court?
No, because you see, I told you that this starts by capture of the state. So, the people of Uganda are not sovereign. They don't have power over their country. They are captives in Uganda. The sovereign, the one who has power over Uganda, is Museveni. So he is a king. The king is sovereign.
So you've chosen not to petition the fact that
so now
this violence is meted against
the institutions in Uganda are captive. The judiciary is captive. It does not serve according to the people. It serves according to that who has power, Mr. Museveni. That's why you've seen when we are in courts, when we are taken to courts, and we present our case, the magistrate or the judge says, now, I have heard your case, you and you, I will now take a break and I will come back to give the ruling. That break is to seek the, what do you say, master? You know, because it's, they don't have the power.
Okay.
So going to petition court, yes, we do. We do from time to time. But not because we believe the courts are free. It is for two reasons. First of all, from time to time, you may find a magistrate or judge who has heard the call, who has internalized the call, who has joined the resistance.
Your call.
Yes, it's not a personal call. The call for freedom, the call for justice. you'll find some judges.
So at that point, when such a judge makes a ruling that favors you, or
it's not favoring me.
It's in the system is fine.
No. Even if it is against me, provided it is just. The whole thing is whether there is justice or not. Because, for example, when I went to ask for bail, and somebody says, pay 30 million in order to get bail, in a case which, if I was convicted, even if I pleaded guilty, the maximum sentence is a fine of 1.2 million. But you say, in order to regain your freedom temporarily, as the case is hard, pay 30 million. That cannot be justice. So you cannot, whether he gave bail was in my favor, but it was too completely unreasonable. The terms were completely. So what we are talking about,
that was later
and again, the narrative of saying when the judgment is in your favor, you support it, when it is not, that is the narrative of the slave master. That is the narrative of trying to create an impression that the slave master has justice. It's the same thing with elections. They hold the elections not so that power can change, but so that they can create an impression that people have a participation. And in order to do that, they may give you a seat here, a seat there, a mayor there, and they say, but you win some of these things. But are you winning power? No. So these are facades. They are intended simply to justify the slave master, even slaves.
All right, I understand what you say, and of course it could be something that affects the system in its entirety. How do we move forward from that?
Absolutely. So as I have said, two things. There are two crises in one. The first one is the immediate one, where people can't pay rent, children cannot go back to school, people have no food. Portion now is which is eaten by most people, has gone to 4,000 a kilo. It is going to go to 10,000. I'm sure it will reach 10,000 a kilo. Why? Because what has been driving the posho or maize flour to reach 4,000 a kilo from below 2,000 in just a few months has been the increase in fuel prices, transportation.
That's right.
But now there is going to be an additional driver, the drought. So there is now food shortage. So this posho is going to fly from 4,000 to 10,000. The salaries of Ugandans are going to remain the same, as they have remained the same when posho was 2,000 to when posho is 4,000. The income is still the same. Even for you, I'm sure NTV has not doubled your your pay. So if you were eating 1 kilo of posho a few months ago, you now eat a half.
All right.
Now to deal with this,
the top men have had that, no doubt.
So to deal with this immediate crisis, we need an immediate change in how the money in the country is used. It must be drastic. I was saying before I was taken back into prison that all Ugandans had to put their foot down to make sure that the budget that began this last
the
1st of July, that it's a different budget. We need a totally different budget from the one Kasaija and his slave master read.
How do we do that? Because just a moment,
so
Kano.
First of all,
Kano, just hold on. You speak of the fact that we need a different budget, and there is a need for change in how money is used. You all know the workings of the budget framework. For example, the 2023 budget will begin the process of making
all that is nonsense. All that is nonsense.
So you ask
because those are processes.
These are things that have already been rolled out.
Those are processes controlled, choreographed, managed, presented by the slave master.
What kind of government do you
So there are two budgets. We want two budgets. There is a budget of the slave master, which is the Kasaija budget, Kasaija Museveni budget. It's a budget of the slave master, where all the money is to support the slave master and crumbs to support the slaves.
And then the other option?
Now I'm saying the slaves must make their budget of our money.
Okay.
So there is a Kasaija budget, we must have the slave budget.
How is that even possible in a state?
We are already suggesting that to our people to say, this is what we have. We have 45 trillion, which is coming from us, from the slaves, not from the masters. The masters even don't pay taxes. It is our money, the 45 trillion, which they have now, and they are deceiving the slaves that we are bringing money for parish model. That is now the song. They are going ceremonially to launch the parish model. What is parish model? 1 trillion. Of the 45 trillion, 1 trillion.
Kano, we shall be going into the parish model.
So
and
all Ugandans.
And whether it will work or
wait,
not.
wait,
Just
wait,
a
wait.
moment. Just a moment. Kano, I'm the moderator.
Yes, but you are moderating me to also present my views.
I would love this conversation to be very cordial and systematic, so that we can be able to dissect and demystify some of these issues.
Listen to me also.
Now, here we are. We have a crisis within the country. You've contested for president 4 times. The country is now asking you, outline the measures that ought to be done.
That's exactly what I was
You're
doing.
speaking of an idea that people must, first of all, be put in a certain frame of mind to act on the aspects that you want.
Absolutely.
As a president,
yes,
what would you do right now? For example, the cost of fuel and the fact that it completely disorganizes, or rather...
But that's exactly, Chris, you see, just...
Can you put it in more specific terms?
Well, unless you want to put it for me, I will put it in my terms.
No. All right, put it in specific terms. Outline the measures that you would undertake if you were president to tackle the current economic crisis.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying the resources of the people of Uganda must be shared out totally differently. And I'm saying that instead of just taking 1 trillion and you sing about it in a parish model, while in just the home of one man, the slave master, you are taking nearly 0.7 of a trillion. You are taking 0.7 of a trillion to the home of Mr. Museveni in the same budget. This one who is singing, I'm bringing you money, he has allocated 1 trillion, but allocated 0.7 of a trillion to his home. And this is just the beginning. By October, November, there will be a supplementary budget to the home, not to the people. So the main thrust of this crisis is not taking money where the people are. So we are saying, cut out all the extravagant expenditure, the high cost of administration, cut that trash out. We don't need 82 ministers to serve the slave master. We don't need them. America, the biggest economy on earth, has 15 ministries and 15 ministers. We don't need 82 ministers, for heaven's sake, for which we buy vehicles, we buy... The
context is different. America
the context is not...
It's a federal arrangement.
Yes, it's not different. I'm talking about the federal budget that these ministers superintend over. It's 1,000 times bigger than Uganda.
That's right.
So, but they manage it with 15 ministers. So we don't need all these useless people running around. Even the slave master does not know their names. But so these people, we need to cut this expenditure. Remain with a few ministers. Cut out all the advisors. We have more than 130 advisors of the president, also at cabinet level. And everybody knows that they don't advise anything. Maybe they are there to be advised by Tibuhaburwa. So all these people must go and plant cassava, which the government says is the the RDCs. What are RDCs for?
Interesting.
Yes, RDCs are central are representatives of the central government in the district. But we have already another appointed official from the central government in the district in the form of the chief administrative officer. He is appointed by the same central government.
That's right.
We have an elected chairman of the district.
So you seem
we need
you are
to cut out.
suggesting
We need to
a
cut
reduction
out.
of the workforce.
Yes,
or labor
the cost,
within the civil
the
service.
cost of because
of
you see,
administration.
all these things are created not to serve the people, but to serve the slave master in maintaining power. It's patronage. It's called a system of patronage.
That's right.
Those who want to oppose him, he gives them an office where to keep on getting some money and keep quiet.
All right, we are outlining the measures. That is one. Second.
So first, I'm talking about cut the ridiculous expenditure of defense. Uganda is not threatened by any of its neighbors, as we know. The only threat to Ugandans is Ugandans, not foreigners. The army is supposed to protect us against foreign attacks. Internal security depends on managing Ugandans. So cut defense expenditure. And I'm not saying cut the welfare of soldiers. Soldiers are some of the most suffering people in this country. Their crisis is much deeper than even that of teachers.
Can you throw more light on that?
Oh yes.
Please do.
The earnings of soldiers, the welfare, they sleep in those mama ingia porres that catch fire every night, grass thatched. There is no reason why a family in Uganda of a soldier should live in squalor like they do in Uganda, including policemen. You've seen where they live. I used to rear pigs. Pigs live better than where the policemen sleep. You know, the conditions of our people in uniform is deplorable. So when I talk about cutting expenditure on defense, I'm not talking about cutting the welfare. I actually want the welfare of soldiers to increase extremely high, to become very high. But we can achieve that because all this budget that is taken to defense does not benefit soldiers. They say it is for classified expenditure, to buy second-hand weapons and to be stolen.
Wait a minute. You speak of second-hand weapons. You're a soldier. I don't want to say, since you're retired, you shouldn't mind about how the issues.
I am a soldier, and even before I retired, I was the chief of logistics.
Chief of logistics.
So I know what I am talking about.
When you speak on national television about the fact that the army is using second-hand weapons, what kind of patriotism is that? Because you're exposing the security of the country. If an enemy gets to know that we are using second-hand weapons, then we are vulnerable for attack. Yet you are dismissing the need to invest in security.
No. Cut that. You see, again, all that is the narrative of the slave master.
You keep referring to the narrative of the slave master and offering, I need the alternative narrative and in very specific terms.
That's exactly what you see. The weapons market is an open market, actually. The weapons which are on market, I can Google for you, and you will know all the weapons.
Could also do that.
All the weapons on the market, and who buys them is also available on the market.
All right.
So there is no secret of the type of old vehicles we buy, old fighting vehicles we buy from South Africa. You can get this, anybody can get how many Mambas. These are vehicles that are 20, 30 years old that we buy. So this is, or the old tanks. The tanks we have in Uganda, most of them are called T-72. We still have T-55. T-55 were those which were made in 1955. T-72 were made in 1972. They are the majority here. T-72. You know? So this is not something, it's not a secret. It's but what I'm talking about more is not how old. It's the budget that is supposed to go in buying all these things that we have now bought. We had Mi-24 helicopters. Now I think they have brought I don't know, 28 or...
Mi-28 is the latest to be acquired by the UPDF.
Yes. So the question is, it's a question of balancing. Do we need Mi-28 helicopters, fighter helicopters now, or we need our children in school? It's the choices Ugandans have to make. And I am saying we should prioritize our children going back to school. We should prioritize Ugandans having food. We should, because you look at the budget that goes to agriculture. Peanuts. Agriculture, where most Ugandans are. So the question is, where do we put the most money?
And that brings us to the topic of the parish development.
And so, in the immediate crisis, we need an immediate budget made now not by the slave master but by the slaves and imposed on the slave master.
How is that supposed to work? The mandate to create a budget.
Yes, it's not a backdate. It's not a backdate. I've told you the money we have. It's our money. They haven't even collected it. It's still in our pockets.
Okay.
They still have to collect it from our pockets. They have just made they have just made a plan of what to use from the money they will collect from our pockets. So it's still our money, and we can even refuse to give it to them. You know, we can refuse to pay the taxes. You know, so we have power. This is the first thing the slaves of Uganda must learn. That we have power. We can break the chains. And we have to break the chains if we are to survive. And the time to break the chains is now. And so, the wake-up call is simply to say, by the way, wake up, we can make another budget now. And I wanted this budget to begin even before the financial year begins, which the money that is already being collected from our pockets. We should have new priorities. But in order for those new priorities to take effect, we must defeat the slave master. The power must shift to us. And I'm saying it can if we wake up and jointly take action. It can. And there is nothing. That's how all countries, we are not pioneering. That's how we recovered Uganda from the British. We united and resisted the British rule. And they had to give us independence. We can still do the same with our slave masters now.
All right, you do speak very passionately about the need for the slaves to rise up against the slave master. Right now, the fuel prices that are affecting just about the price of other goods, including services, by the way. Many people do not look at the fact that services are also increasing. You can't go to hospital. Right now, what should be done to ensure that some of these pain is eased? Because you've been outlining some of those. We need to go a little bit deeper into the specifics of how you can deal with this particular aspect.
So if we reduce public expenditure on administration, on defense, on all these things we are talking about, reduce corruption and return money that has been stolen. Because again, the people who store the money are here, the money they store is here, they are known, we can return that money. So if we take these measures, we can now have the capacity to reduce some of the taxes that are driving this situation, like the tax on fuel. And all countries have indeed intervened in reducing the tax, because part of the pump price, you see, I think about 2,000, about 1,500 shillings is tax. So if you take off 1,000 shillings, it will be, the pump price will fall by 1,000 shillings. So we can, having intervened in the expenditure, we can intervene in the tax that comes in. And it's absolute.
Yes,
now, part of the trouble which was caused before the recent crisis.
The war in Ukraine?
Yes, the trouble before which we had before this is that we have no reserves. Because they store everything, we are a country without any reserves. No fuel reserves, no money reserve in the Bank of Uganda.
First take us through
no food reserves.
Take us through what it takes to create sustainable reserves for fuel.
You have to budget for it and set it aside.
That's right.
And over time accumulate, which is what has not been done, because again we have the most, I think, we talk about, it's a contradiction in terms for anybody in this slave master nation to talk about patriotism. What patriotism? Whose patriotism? How can you, the British, who were colonizers, had reserves for Ugandans. They made sure every home had a food reserve in the home, recorded by the government, which you were not allowed to touch, but it's yours, it's in your home. But the Muruka chief, the parish chief,
ensured you don't touch it,
would have a record of the food you have as a reserve. They would also have a record of the reserve the sub-county had. So some of the food would be given to the sub-county to be reserved at the sub-county. So we had a colonial regime that ensured there were food reserves in Uganda. We now have some people who call themselves Ugandans, who have been ruling over Uganda for nearly 4 decades. Not even one bag of food anywhere as a reserve. No, nothing. How can those people have the slightest claim to patriotism? No reserve of fuel, not even one jerrycan as a Ugandan reserve. Yet we are a landlocked country.
We have reserves in
Amin, whom they call swine. Amin is the one who built the fuel reserve tanks in Jinja. They are empty. The Ugandan government handed them over to some Indian. They are no longer in the hands of the government. They belong to some Indian. And there is no fuel there. So how can anybody who does that to the country have the slightest claim to patriotism? We are in a country where the entire financial sector is foreign. All banks are foreign.
In other words, you're suggesting Ugandans should be able to take on the mantle of managing some of our finances, including establishing banks.
Of course.
Yeah.
If it was not for the Catholic Church that has a struggling centenary bank, there would be nobody in the financial sector, a Ugandan in the financial sector. And you call yourself a patriot? Nonsense.
The finance minister and the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, who is also the secretary to the Treasury, have spoken about the fact that subsidies are not the best possible intervention that government can make. The minister also claimed that if we are to do subsidies for fuel, we shall be emboldening a group of people who are wealthy and are dealers in fuel. Retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, it is well known that you are a fuel dealer. Now, Kasaija, Matia, and Ramadan Ngobi claim that if they undertake subsidies, they will be emboldening the likes of you. What's your comment on that?
Well, first of all, again, I must underline that Kasaija, his friend Ngobi, are servants of the slave master. Their narrative is a narrative of the slave master. The granting of subsidies. It's not subsidies even. You know, when you reduce tax, it's not a subsidy. It's just a fiscal and financial policy. There is nothing. There is no subsidies when you give money from public coffers to support. So this is not a subsidy. It's just a policy that will bring down prices. And that, talking about smuggling, would be plausible if, even after reducing those prices, the prices of Uganda would be lower than the prices of the neighbors. Have they told you what the prices of the neighbors are? Why isn't fuel being smuggled from the neighbors here? Because all our neighbors have lower price of fuel than Uganda.
That's right.
So all that is just the narrative of the slave master. It's possible to intervene, to put down prices. Even if you wanted subsidy, you can, but given creatively. You can give refunds in creative ways, which is done in many other countries. So the fact that they are not willing to intervene has nothing to do with the effects of intervening. What they don't want to interfere with are their advantages, their way of life. They don't want, Mr. Museveni doesn't want to reduce the 700 billion that has been budgeted for his office. Those who are earning extreme wages, you know, the governor of the Bank of Uganda earns nearly 50 million per month, while the teacher earns nothing. The members of parliament, the other day they took 40 million, which they share on top of what they earn already, which is exorbitant. You know, they don't want those to change. The Speaker of Parliament bought a vehicle of 1.2 billion, in spite of having even been given 200 million for as an MP. You know, so they already have a private vehicle. Now they are buying them official vehicle. They were the vehicles of Kadaga, which were already there. So they don't want that to change. That is all.
Okay.
But we are saying, in order for us to get out of the crisis, in order for your salary to follow the price of maize, we need a different reset. All of us, for the country, we must have a new reset. In order to get the new reset, we have to fight for it. It won't come on a silver platter, no.
All right.
And those people who are saying, you know, they will shoot us, they will imprison us, even if you don't want, you accept to become a slave. Those are the only choices.
Doctor, you keep referring or giving the impression that the government is solely responsible for some of the troubles that the average Ugandan goes through. But I want us to look at what an individual Ugandan can do within their settings to be able to improve their condition. Yesterday we had a conversation with one of the political leaders in the country, the principal of the National Unity Platform, and signed off with a very poignant statement. Ugandans are on their own. A Ugandan out there who is on his or her own right now needs to know how to get out of the problem. You've already said it. Participation
you see, if Ugandans were on their own, they would even be in heaven.
Advise Ugandans.
They are not on their own.
Advise Ugandans.
They are on chains. Somebody who is on chains is not on his own.
Advise Ugandans on frugality. What can be done? The little money that they are getting.
You see, talk about Ugandans. First of all, it's not that they have always lived in squalor. Ugandans were prosperous at some stage.
Yes.
You know? And nobody was there advising them, do this, do that. Ugandans can live, they know how to become prosperous. If they are not chained, if their money is not forcefully taken out of their pockets and nothing returns to them. So, you see, we are not on our own. If we were on our own, Ugandans are very creative. They are industrious. Look at even when they go out there, you know, they are industrious. They make money, they send it back here. So the problem is the capture and control and you know, the exploitation, massive exploitation of Uganda. If we get rid of that, and if we invest, because you see, again, Ugandans know that education is important, because they know that they need knowledge, they know that they need skills, and they have been ready to seek them. But the environment does not allow that. This is why, for example, the fight for teachers' welfare should not be a fight for the teachers. It should be a fight by the parents. But you know, the narrative in the country. You see, the reason.
I'll simplify it for somebody out there who might be struggling to understand what the narrative is.
Yes. You see.
What should the parent do?
You see, before I explain that, it's important for Ugandans to really understand how a few people, like the British, they were about 100 here or so, how they kept us hostage, all Ugandans hostage for 70 years. How is that possible? How is it possible that a few people, a cabal of people, a small cabal of people now, are holding Ugandans hostage for nearly 40 years? There are four main things that are used. One is because they control wealth. They use wealth to dominate us. You know, if the patronage system I talked about, renting leaders so that people are leaderless. Secondly, intimidation, using fear. We shall kill you, so that people live in fear. Thirdly, they use misinformation and propaganda, control of media and propaganda, using, you know, having people, you know, saying the same things all over until people start believing them. So when we come to this teacher thing, the teacher parent.
Yeah, very quickly, we need to transition.
Yes, the teacher parent problem which I was talking about. You see, people have now, over time, sort of not realized that it is their responsibility to ensure that they have good teachers, that the teachers are well maintained and so on. It has now been made as if it is just a government which is there. The master is the one who plans, who does all these things, so you have nothing. And this intensified when they say there is free education. People must regain their responsibility.
There is undergoing...
And in regaining responsibility, we must take charge of ensuring that teachers are quality teachers, do whatever is needed to be done to make sure that those teachers are quality and can teach our children well. So it should be the parents rioting, striking, rather than even the teachers. Parents insisting that our teachers must be paid, because even now they have been forced back into the classrooms, but we all know that they are not going to be teaching. The report came out recently of primary 3 children who cannot read the alphabet. You know, that they are 68% of children in P3 who can't read alphabet. That will become 100% if we accept that our teachers have now gone back, schools are open, and that there is learning going on. Parents must rise up.
Must rise up. That point is well made. Now, allow me to transition to the fact that you spoke about Ugandans being very creative. The youth right now make up the greater part of Uganda's population. There are so many interventions that are rolling out from government, from independent actors within the private sector to ensure that the youth are emboldened to be able to undertake entrepreneurship. But many youth grapple with so many issues. Do you have a blueprint, if you had an alternative policy advantage for the youth that is very specific, that can take them out of their dilemma right now?
Of course.
Without necessarily telling them the slave master is responsible.
Well, I don't know why you don't want me to tell them that the slave master is responsible for their plight.
You've said it so many times.
Yes, and it must be repeated and repeated until the slaves know that they need.
How should it be done?
So it's, you see, again, it's a whole question of priority, where the resources are, you know, and how they are directed, because our education actually needs overhaul.
Okay.
Not only in terms of the money that goes into creating infrastructure, that goes into creating teachers that are quality, that goes into providing facilities, but even that goes to do with the curriculum, what actually our people are trained to come out as. You see, education is not supposed to be to come out seeking for jobs. It's not supposed to be creating a labor force. No, it's supposed to be creating ideas that can solve problems, solve human problems. That's the main purpose of education, to solve human problems. In the process of solving human problems, you create jobs. And that's what, so we have a colonial education which was only supposed to provide laborers, not creators, solvers of problems. You see, a person like Bill Gates, he does not have a university degree. One of the richest people in the world. In fact, nearly all the richest people in the world don't have university degrees. All they did throughout their education was to know how to solve a problem. And they identify a problem, identify a solution, build a business around it, and it becomes a world winner. So that is where we need to go.
Okay.
The type of education we need to pursue is not the type of education we are pursuing right now. But we need the investment. Yeah. We need the investment. For example, we are talking about sports. Sports is a huge industry, but it's not an industry that develops on its own like it is in Uganda, that somebody learns playing football on his own, learns how to run on his own, until he breaks through into some competition without anybody knowing where he came from.
Yeah, that's a very interesting
We need to build
take there.
Sports academies across the country, have highly skilled trainers and instructors in all these academies. We don't have even a single sports academy in Uganda. So we need
yes,
a different type of investment. And that's why you keep on saying, you know, why isn't it there? Slave master.
Okay, that approach is no doubt commendable. I would like to ask you, as we enter the final bend of this interview, the leader of opposition, Mathias Mpuuga, has demonstrated that it's possible to engage with the government, especially when making sure that policy alternatives be undertaken. It is not something that if we had a manifesto and the government had their own manifesto, let it do theirs, let's retain ours. You have been away from the mainstream of running political activities for the Forum for Democratic Change since you left. You went on to form the Red Card Front, now the People's Front for Transition. Is there a mechanism that brings all the players, including you, to be able to harmonize a blueprint that you can, for example, stand and say, if this government policy is failing, here is what you should do, and this is how you can do it?
You see, there have been countless wonderful alternative policies presented in the course of the last 4 decades. At every election, and you've said I have been in 4 general elections, we present well thought out policy alternatives for this country. And our manifestos are there. You can go and refer to them in education, agriculture, finance, what. We have wonderful things. The question is, how do these alternatives gain the possibility, even the remotest possibility, of being
adopted
national policies. There isn't. And that, you see, will, to your chagrin.
Wow, we've been blessed.
Yes, I live on a farm, so
Okay.
I have chicken and goats and cows.
Yes,
already.
all right.
So the thing is,
Make it your final remarks. So
yes,
that we can
how do alternative policies gain a chance when you have no voice, when you are under captivity? You are talking about parliament. Even forget about Mpuga and the opposition. Talk about the government MPs. Do they have power? The NRM MPs, do they themselves have any power to change anything? They don't. Parliament is a captive institution, just like the judiciary is a captive institution. Parliament, you saw the military enter parliament, beat up people. You had the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, write to the President, Mr. President, who are these people who entered Parliament and beat us up? I did not invite anybody. That's the Kadaga was not opposition.
Okay.
Kadaga was the Speaker of Parliament, a long-term NRM leader, but her parliament was invaded by soldiers, just like the courts were invaded by soldiers and the court officials beaten by the black members. So the point is, there is no parliament.
There is no parliament.
Bottom line.
Okay.
So whether they are wonderful alternative ideas, as long as those ideas don't benefit the slave master,
okay.
they are
Finally.
dead. They are dead.
All right, retired Colonel
from the
Dr.
beginning.
Col Besigye, many thanks for the perspective that you have offered us this morning on NTV. And of course, the program is Morning at NTV. The hashtag is Morning at NTV.
Oh,
We hope you've
it's
been
over?
We've been part of the conversation. We can never have time to talk and finish some of these aspects. But
Regrettably,
no doubt,
I have a presser at the Gemma headquarters, so I will continue to talk to you.
All right, but
Thank
we do
you very
appreciate your time and, of course, the perspective that you have shared. Are you planning to write a book? Have you written that we can...
much. Well, fortunately, you are recording many of the things I say. If I fail to write, you will write on my behalf.
Well, that's it. Retired Colonel Dr. Col Besigye, a political activist now, and of course, as we all know, a former presidential candidate and one of the leading socio-political commentators in the country, giving us his views on the current economic crisis and just what can be done or ought to be done by the government in place to ensure that the pain that you, the Ugandan, are undergoing out there is eased. We shall now return to studio at Serena. Priscilla is at hand.